Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, and air restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
President Biden today announced sweeping changes to immigration policy. Thank you for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. The president signed an executive order that shuts off asylum to most migrants who enter the country illegally. KPBS border reporter Gustavo Solis says critics on both sides of the political divide are unhappy with the order.
Local Republicans criticized Biden's executive order before it was even published Tuesday. County Supervisor Jim Desmond says, quote, "We need urgent, comprehensive action, not more political theater," end quote. Meanwhile, advocates say that Biden's order is straight out of the Donald Trump playbook. Here is Margaret Cargioli. She's the directing attorney of policy and advocacy for the Immigrant Defenders Law Center.
The Biden administration had promised to restore asylum and has moved completely in the opposite direction.
The new policy has been in the work for months and uses an authority known as 212F, a regulation used under the Trump administration and widely denounced by Democrats at the time. The executive order temporarily shuts down asylum requests once the average number of daily border encounters nationwide reaches 2,500. And the border would not be reopened until that number drops down to below 1,500. The Associated Press says the average number of encounters hasn't dropped below 1,500 since July 2020.
We cannot place numerical limitations on someone's safety.
The daily average is already above 2,500, meaning the shutdown will go into effect immediately. The ACLU has already announced plans to challenge Biden's order in court. Biden defended the order, saying Republicans have blocked efforts to pass bipartisan immigration reform.
Doing nothing is not an option. We have to act.
Local Democrats, including San Diego Mayor Todd Gloria and Congressman Mike Levin, supported Biden's actions.
But in the absence of congressional action, I think the president was really left with very little choice here. The situation at the border today is untenable. I hope that this executive action today will restore some basic order.
But the support among Democrats is far from unanimous. California Senator Alex Padilla says the order undermines American values and abandons obligations to provide people fleeing persecution with an opportunity to seek protection. Gustavo Solis, KPBS News.
Well, looking ahead to tonight, we're dropping down to a low of 61. Now we're hanging on to those low clouds near the coast. So just heads up, if you're doing any late traveling or even early travel, you may run into some tricky spots there on the road. But we are talking about the big heat that continues to build. How hot are we going to get and when can we see a cool down? Well, I'll have the details coming up.
The San Diego County Board of Supervisors appointed a top finance official to the role of Chief Administrative Officer today. Ebony Shelton is currently the county's Chief Financial Officer and a Deputy Chief Administrative Officer. She thanked the board after the vote.
You have my commitment to do my absolute best to advance San Diego County for all residents, as well as all of our workforce. I love everything about this county, and I'm completely committed.
The county says Shelton started there in 1997 as a payroll clerk. She's worked in various human resources and finance roles, including the director of the Financial Planning Office. As CAO, Shelton will run the county's day-to-day operations and implement the Board of Supervisors' decisions. Shelton is the first Afro-Latina to serve in the role, and she starts on June 14th. Many California college students are leaving $150 of monthly grocery help on the table. KPBS reporter Katie Heisen spoke with a researcher who says that money could be the difference between getting a degree and dropping out.
Jesse Rothstein is the faculty director at the California Policy Lab. He wanted to know how many students are eligible for CalFresh, California's food stamps, but don't apply.
There are many students for whom financial aid doesn't really help them cover the costs of, it might cover tuition, but it doesn't cover the costs of rent and food.
What he found surprised him. About 93,000 University of California and community college students received CalFresh in fall 2019. But about 235,000 were eligible and didn't apply, missing out on benefits that could have paid for their groceries.
So I don't think it occurs to them to apply. And then if it does occur to them, it's not that easy to figure out how to navigate the process.
Rothstein says the findings should compel CalFresh to coordinate better with financial aid offices, to send letters to students who might be eligible, and to simplify the application process.
I think anything we can do to help students get through college is important. And if students are having trouble paying for groceries, that's a pretty strong reason to stop college and go get a job.
He plans to extend the research to the Cal State system next. Katie Heisen, KPBS News.
As a new crop of grads leave college, the struggles of student loan debt takes center stage. New research finds that those struggles aren't limited to people in their 20s. For millions of Americans, student loan debt is affecting retirement plans. Karen Kafa has some helpful insight for borrowers.
Student loan debt is typically viewed as an issue facing younger Americans, but new analysis shows a burden on some Americans over age 55 that could clash with retirement security.
It's not what you usually think, that they took out student debt for their children. It's actually for themselves.
Student loans have often been described as good debt, with borrowers taking on loans in the hopes higher education will boost income over time. But a new analysis by the Schwartz Center for Economic Policy Analysis at the New School finds more than 2.2 million Americans over age 55 carrying student loan debt. Teresa Ghilarducci is a professor of economics at the New School and specializes in retirement and older worker issues.
It's only good debt for the young, and it's only good debt if it's a low amount of debt.
Older borrowers tend to see income narrow at retirement age and are more likely to carry other debts like mortgages and car loans than younger workers. Karthik Monikam, author of the New School report, says that can lead to tough choices.
It's likely to affect their retirement ability because they have to either sort of decide between extending their working life and continue to work to repay their debt, or reduce the amount of retirement savings that they may be able to save.
Another potential consequence that could diminish retirement income, Monikam says, delinquent federal student loans can result in garnishment of Social Security benefits. In Washington, I'm Karen Kafa.
Major League Baseball has issued a rare lifetime ban to a San Diego Padres player after determining that he gambled on the sport. The league says its investigation reveals Tucupita Marcano placed hundreds of bets on games over several months in 2022 and 2023. Marcano was playing for the Pittsburgh Pirates during that time. This season, he rejoined the Padres for his second stint in San Diego. MLB says the outcomes of games were not compromised. While sports betting is legal, the league has strict rules against the activity. 2 days after a shark attacked a swimmer in Del Mar, the water is once again open to the public. 46-year-old Caleb Adams was out with a group of swimmers training Sunday when he was attacked. He's recovering from bites to his torso, left arm and hand, and is expected to survive. Our media partner KGTV spoke to a man who was attacked by a shark 6 years ago while lobster diving in Encinitas. He says he reached out to the Adams family to offer his support.
There's no really textbook on how to guide a shark attack or how to go about it, and each case is very different. So we just, I just tried to share my experience a little bit and just tell them, hey, this is what worked for me.
Lifeguards and experts believe that he was attacked by a juvenile great white. Adams is now the 8th person in the county to be attacked by a shark in the past 20 years.
I'm Jeff Bennett. Tonight on the NewsHour, President Biden signs an executive order limiting the number of migrants who can seek asylum at the southern border. That's at 7 after Evening Edition on KPBS.
Over the past 5 years, Sharp Grossmont Hospital says readmission rates for patients from rural areas of San Diego County increased by nearly 8%. KPBS health reporter Heidi DeMarco tells us about a program aiming to reduce that number.
On a recent Thursday morning, a team of county public health nurses and a paramedic firefighter drive through dusty, unpaved roads to visit a patient in Boulevard who was recently discharged from Sharp Grossmont Hospital.
And do you have the medications they sent you home with from the hospital?
Yeah, they're in that broken bed.
Michael Lane is 69. He recently went to the emergency room because he was having trouble breathing. He's been living in Boulevard for more than 25 years. This is his first visit since being discharged.
So it's really hard to get people up here other than on the phone. You know, and that's a hard thing to do is diagnose somebody over the phone.
The visit is part of a pilot program to reduce hospital readmission rates. County public health nurses and firefighters support residents in the county's most rural and disadvantaged areas. The team monitors patients for up to 30 days after they leave the hospital to manage conditions and resolve issues at home. Lane says having the team drive more than 55 miles to check on his recovery.
It makes a big difference.
While nurse Amy Dull checks his vitals, Fire Captain Joseph Thompson clears the weeds in the front yard to ensure Lane's safety. The program launched last June. It's a collaboration between several healthcare organizations, the fire department, and the county's Health and Human Services Agency. The program is free. To qualify, patients must have been recently released from Sharp Grossmont Hospital and reside in one of 9 rural zip codes, including Boulevard, Campo, and Descanso. Amy Dole is one of 3 nurses in the program.
So we talk to them on the phone at first and get some background and introduce ourselves and the program. And then that first visit is just really getting to know them and their needs and kind of an overall picture of their health and what their situation is.
Susan Costanzo is 68 and lives off the grid in Campo. This is the first time she's meeting the team.
So what happened to the hand?
Infection in my hand from working too hard. It was an initial injury caused by a wideband ring, caused a small, like a little blister, and I guess that got infected.
She works her land, and her only companions are her 2 dogs.
I like being alone, but it's pretty isolated out here. Something bad could happen. I could stroke out or something.
Today, Thompson replaces Costanzo's fire alarms. Nurse Kayla Domingo gives her a new blood pressure monitor.
Blood pressure normal is 120/80. Yours is perfect.
Nurse Claudine Urbanavage goes over her medication and helps her set up follow-up appointments.
The people here, sometimes they don't have primary care doctors. They don't have a pharmacy. So that's when we come in. We make sure that they stay out of the hospital.
The team can only see about 4 to 5 patients each day due to the lengthy stretches of highway between their homes. Since June, they have visited 150 people and driven about 10,000 miles.
From someone who has a nice home to someone who has a trailer, which is, falling apart, has holes in their roof, where they can't even sleep in there when it's raining. The youngest that we've had is 27 and the oldest is 96.
Residents in rural areas face difficulties accessing health care. There are fewer health care resources and longer travel times to hospitals and pharmacies. Nick Johnson is one of 2 paramedic firefighters in the program.
Some of these folks are 50 to 60 miles away from the hospital. Many of the people that we see do not even have, transportation or access to transportation. There are a lot of issues, too, where there are just no one for these people to call other than 911.
According to Sharp's data, about 40% of discharged patients have enrolled in the program. The majority are managing chronic diseases. In the first 6 months, patients in the program had fewer trips back to the hospital, just 4% compared to almost 14% for those who didn't enroll. Juan Cuevas is 79 and lives in Potrero with his daughter. He went to the hospital because of an enlarged prostate. Today is his last visit. He says he's grateful for their help and the new smoke detector.
As you can see, a lot of them are isolated. And sometimes they just really need someone to be there for them, someone to sit and talk to them, and that makes their day.
Cuevas is feeling better, enough to sing to the team as they leave.
Thank you. Gracias.
Heidi DeMarco, KPBS News.
According to the World Health Organization, 1 billion people suffer from seasonal flu every year, leading to sickness and death. Vaccines bring a measure of protection, but the flu mutates so quickly it can get around vaccines. KPBS SciTech reporter Thomas Fudge tells us about a molecule that's been identified that might stop all strains of the flu.
The flu is a viral chameleon, changing shape so fast it's hard for vaccines to keep up. Chemical biologist Dennis Wolin says creating a seasonal flu vaccine is a little like viewing a crystal ball to try to decide which flu you're actually going to be fighting off.
That's sort of where the issue is with vaccines, is that they're so specific and good that sometimes they miss the mark if we're infected with another strain of the virus.
And that's why Wolin and his partners at Scripps Research have been trying to come up with a different solution. And a possible solution is a molecule that binds to and disables that part of the virus that allows the flu to enter our cells. Imagine the virus is trying to unlock a door to a human cell and it has a key. Disabling that key is easier than targeting the whole virus because the key and the door lock don't change from one flu strain to the next.
This molecule, what it does is that it's very broadly neutralizing, meaning it can target all the different subtypes of the different flus.
Scripps Research Professor Ian Wilson has partnered with Wolin in identifying the therapeutic molecule. You can see it as an orange patch in this picture of a protein spike. The spike is that key the flu uses to open the door to a cell. And the targeted area of it is the same or is conserved in all flu viruses.
The spikes are highly variable, but it's the top part of the molecule here that's highly variable. The bottom part is highly conserved. And that's the part that we're targeting, the part that's conserved among different influenza viruses.
In Wilson's lab, they have crystallized the protein spike and then use X-rays to show its structure. Here you see one of the spikes. The molecule is that green blob in the middle. Another potential advantage is this therapy could be taken as a pill instead of a vaccine shot. Wilson says our history shows a need for better flu protection.
And we like to have something on the shelf potentially for new pandemics. We're worried at the moment for these new H5 ones, which we've seen that are spreading throughout the world. They started in wild birds, but they've been spreading to mammals.
Testing of the therapeutic molecule has been successful, but so far only in the lab. Still, Dennis Wolin, who now works at Genentech, sees a lot of promise in this idea of targeting the key that lets the virus into our cells.
I think it expands, first of all, way beyond just flu. I think this goes into all different types of viruses. You know, this is providing a new pathway to combating viral infections.
The next step in the research is to see how it works in mice. Thomas Fudge, KPBS News.
A brutal heat wave is baking parts of the U.S. today, and it's not even officially summer yet. It's due to a heat dome in the southwest, and forecasters say more states will see temperatures spike in the coming days. Amy Kiley has more on the dangerous weather.
A heat dome is scorching parts of the U.S. Today, millions of people in the Southwest are under heat advisories. Forecasters say it could get dangerously hot in states farther north and east later in the week. Some areas could set new records.
Heat can affect pretty much any body system, unfortunately, if it's left unchecked.
The National Weather Service says extreme heat is the #1 cause of weather-related deaths.
We worry most about heat stroke, especially when there are heat waves.
Higher temperatures also mean higher air conditioning costs. A new report predicts a sweltering summer will force Americans to pay about a third more for energy this June through September than in 2019. That's a total of about $200 more on average. And the current heat dome is spiking bills before summer even starts.
Anything could happen this year.
The heat is also increasing the risk of wildfires. Parts of California are already dealing with a brutal start to the fire season.
If people are looking for a sign that it's time to get prepared for peak fire activity, this is the sign.
I'm Amy Kiley reporting.
And KPBS Midday Edition covered the risk of extreme heat here in San Diego and how the city is adapting to the changing climate. You can listen at kpbs.org or wherever you listen to your podcasts.
Well, we're going to start you off with our weather headlines as we get throughout this week. The big story, of course, is going to be that intense heat, and it's going to build for areas further inland, especially across the deserts. Now, by the weekend, you'll see some relief with a slight weekend cooling trend. Now, temperatures aren't going to dip dramatically, but still, you'll certainly feel the changes in the air, especially there in the deserts. Though coastal areas remain cooler than areas further inland, you'll be able to dodge a lot of that extreme heat as the marine layer hangs on, and low clouds are going to be the name of the game, especially late at night and early in the morning. So heads up, you may run into some lowered visibility at times. Now tonight, dropping down to 61 San Diego, Borrego Springs 70, though that heat continues to build, and it's here through Friday. High pressure anchored. We have this lift in the jet stream. We have significant warming on the way. Highs running anywhere between 10 to 20 degrees above the historical averages. When we talk about this kind of heat, of course, we have to talk about the dangers as well. Excessive heat warnings in effect from Borrego Springs up through Coachella Valley. That's Wednesday morning through Friday night. So this heat is sticking with us here. So please make sure you are taking plenty of precautions. Drink plenty of water, take plenty of cooling breaks, because tomorrow, Borrego Springs, you're at 107. Mount Laguna even feeling the warmth as well at 73. Ramona, 84. San Diego, though, you're at 68. It's not just the air temperature we have to take into account when we talk about the heat. It's actually also your AccuWeather real feel temperatures, because anywhere across the desert Southwest, including SoCal, we're talking over that triple-digit mark and really getting into the triple-digit teens. So it's going to be feeling hotter than what those air temperatures are actually reading. Similar story as we head into Thursday, so that intense heat does stick around. Please take care of yourself in the heat. Now along the coast, you'll see slight warming there through Friday, though overall not too shabby when it comes to our temperatures. Further inland, you're in the 80s there by Thursday, staying there through the weekend. Even the mountains, you're going to see some big warming on Sunday with a high of 81. Though, like I said, the deserts, that heat builds through Friday, then we'll start to see those temperatures dip slightly, but not for long. For KPBS News, I'm meteorologist Bree Guy.
Coronado residents and visitors will have a new way to move around the island as the city launches a free electric shuttle service. Starting today, Island Express is a new door-to-door on-demand mini shuttle that is being provided for free during a 6-month pilot program. Riders can use the service to go anywhere within Coronado city limits by downloading the Ride Circuit app or calling 619-675-7438. Barrio Logan is well known for its vibrant arts and culture scene. KPBS reporter Jacob Air takes us there for a new event celebrating the Latino community.
Piñatas are for celebration, and that's exactly what's happening inside Border X Brewing in Barrio Logan. While it's a brewery first, the space has been transformed into what feels like a piñata museum.
It holds a lot more than just visual appeal. Again, it's that traditional value and culture that we're able to cultivate, and I think it's amazing being able to have a space that aligns with artistic values of our communities.
The 2-week-long Border X Piñata Art Fest features vendors, live music, and piñata workshops for the public, led by artists like Jasmine Venegas. She also has a piñata on display that honors her Mexican and indigenous roots.
So I wanted to bring the elements of Tonantzin and her current figure, most known as La Virgen de Guadalupe, as well as Santa Muerte. So bringing those two factors together, how life, again, has that duality in it, and how we're able to grow from life and death.
The event offers the community a chance to learn some history, try out piñata making for themselves, and see professional pieces that stretch the imagination, says festival curator Andy Gonzalez.
There's definitely a couple dozen. You know, some are smaller, some are bigger. Some are displayed in the corners. And even like the hands, these things, people are going, that's a piñata?
He says all the works on display are made by artists from Tijuana, San Diego, and Los Angeles.
We didn't want them to bring us piñatas that you could find at a grocery store. Okay, definitely out of the box piñatas. So they got the assignment and they did it, you know. So you can see some of these are just amazing, some are crazy.
The piñatas are symbols of identity and also a medium to tell stories. And brewery owner David Favela wanted to give them a space to evolve.
If you understand the Mexican culture and the U.S. culture, you can decode the art pieces in a way where they're telling you something. And that's what all great art, at the end of the day, does, is it communicates.
With the magic of papier-mâché, creativity, and love for their heritage, artists like Venegas are looking to carry on traditions that she says would otherwise get lost.
One of my earliest memories of a piñata would be I want to say like my 7th or 8th birthday. My mom made me a Snoopy piñata from scratch, and it was my favorite memory.
This is the first annual Piñata Festival, and it's already underway. The event runs through June 9th, and while it's at a brewery, it's still a family-friendly fiesta. Jacob Ayer, KPBS News.
And here's a look at what we're working on for tomorrow in the KPBS newsroom. NPR's Morning Edition will be joined by Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas to discuss President Biden's new executive order that could shut down asylum requests at the border. And a biotech conference is happening in San Diego this week. KPBS Midday Edition is hosting a discussion about the state of the industry in our region. And you can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Good night.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, and air restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Previs Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.